Hello.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what that was. I just went a bit weird there. Welcome back to Hotfix, our weekly video game industry news and other stuff, laser focused gaming podcast.
Basically, two dickheads sit here and just talk shit about games for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I'm still trying to push for not having it called video game podcast because we talk about games in the other podcast. We talk about news and shit in this podcast.
Well, it's still about video games, so it'll
Did you
sort
just
of
say video?
I did. I'm
Get out. The doors.
I was gonna go. I'm just gonna call the
It's there
taxi.
for
But
me.
why would I call the taxi? You call it for me, and I'd go get my coat. Goodbye.
I'm not paying for your taxi.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we always do, we start off these wonderful hot fixes with Patreon updates and shenanigans. So, as you well know, the show is supported by Patreon. You can click the link that's on the video somewhere there, and you can click the link which is below, or you can go to patreon.com/hotfix. It supports the construction and design of Hotfix and Patreon. And if you do support, you
And
get a shout
Patreon.
out.
Do you mean pubcast?
And Pubcast. I always get confused. I always either say
Although-
hotfix.com/patron or something
They
like
do
that.
they do take a cut, so technically it does help with the construction and design of Patreon. So it's not
True,
wrong.
true. No. Moving on. So the shout outs this week go to Emiko-chan. Thank you for the support. Robo Joe. Thank you for the support. Nicholas Larson. Thank you for the support. Paul Davis. Thank you for the support. Philip Hansidal. Hanisdal. Thank you for the support. And there's a post of Philip. Philippe. Philippe. I'm going to say Filippo. Filippo. I don't know why you're like an Italian, like.
Turns out it's actually English,
gangster.
but he's just got a funky last name.
Yeah. He says, "Have a cabbage flavored Mars bar on me, you slags." Indeed. This is one of those names where it's 3 words put together, which I find really hard to break down. When 2 words put together, I try and read it as 1 word. But I've managed to break this down. It says pizza fried hoff. But altogether, it's like pizza free hoff. Thank you for the support. Lucas has sent us a message, and he says, "You stink, Kiri." That's not very nice of him.
That's a bit harsh.
And that's all we've got this week. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
The best thing is, I could easily just read out the names myself, but I don't want to. I want to start to do it.
Yeah, it's my job. You're not having it, you bastard.
Just realised.
So anyway, if you like the show, shut up, bloke. If you like it, ladies and gentlemen, please go and give at least, minimum $1, because is Hotfix, is Pubcast worth a bag of crisps to you a month for the fact that you get like 2 of these a week for like a crazed amount a month, which would be like 4 a month for each one.
It's like, well, hang on. It's 3 hours a week of podcast, 4 weeks out of every, so 4 times every month. I'm crap at maths, but that comes to about 12 hours for me in my head.
But
yeah, that's like 12 hours of content.
We know. We tell them every week, Mr. Kirioff. What I want to say is this, and then we get into it. People have moaned at me for going on about this too much at the start. No, this is how the show is bloody sustained.
It's how it's funded. If it
will
wasn't
always
for
be
it,
done
then there
at the
wouldn't be
start.
a show. If you didn't support it via Patreon, then you wouldn't have to listen to it at the start of the show because the show wouldn't exist. That is
Do you
literally
think we would
it.
sit here? Do you think we would sit here for hours and hours on a Thursday? Look at me. I sit here for like what? Fucking 4 or 5 hours on a Thursday. So does Mr. Kirioff, but then he has to go away and make the videos to upload them just to get what, like 5,000-6,000 views on each video. It's not worth it. That's why it's supported by Patreon, and that's what makes it worth it. You lovely ladies and gentlemen make it worth it. So if you want to make it worth it even more,
it also doesn't count into the fact that I like the time I start preparing for the next week's hotfix is basically the minute we finish the current hotfix. So once this one's finished, I'm going to go around all of the news sites I've got saved and all of the YouTube channels that provide gaming news, and I'm going to start listing down topics for next week. Like, as soon as this finishes, because we record it on a Thursday. Which, by the way, someone sent me an amazing message on Steam the other day, which made me laugh because they said,
"Oh no,
why don't you guys record Hotfix on a Friday? That way, you would not miss news that happens on a Friday."
Okay, so what makes Friday special?
Well, the thing that made me laugh about this was the kind of, it doesn't matter what day we record it on, because that day, we are going to miss whatever happens on that day and the day after. and technically the day after that until the next hotfix, because it's weekly, not daily. If it was daily, but you were doing like 2 in one day, but then skipping a day, then that would be a legitimate complaint, because it's weekly, so it doesn't matter when we record it. We're gonna miss stuff and not address it until the next week, because no matter when we record it, there will always be stuff that happens that we will not be able to talk about until the next week. But whatever. Anyway, to fuel myself, because we're laser focused for this particular hotfix, I saw this in the shop. I went in for Monster Ripper. I went in for Monster Ripper and they didn't have any. So I saw that and I was like, assault? Yeah. I have absolutely never tried it.
Child.
I don't know what it tastes like. I don't know what it smells like. I've deliberately not sniffed it.
Just because it says assault on the tin.
There's no Ripper. They had assault and they had chaos with a K. I mean, out of the two, what are you going to do? Besides, the chaos one tastes like shit. It tastes like orange sherbet. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Every episode, chaos is shit. What? It's got like, I don't know why I'm slating you, because I've drank enough of them over the last couple of weeks anyway.
Like red berries, but doused in sugar.
Look, I've got a raspberry drink, but it's not fucking.
That's actually quite nice.
Neck
That's actually quite nice.
It would just chug some down.
Oh, it's brown though. It's brown. It tastes nice, but it's brown in colour.
It looks like that special bog fluid you end up with, or when the local sewerage works, flows out over the road.
I'm calling it. That's nicer than Ripper.
Ripper's horrible though. I don't know.
It's way too sweet.
I knew a guy who bought like 80 cans plus of that. It was just stupid. It was like, what the hell? Because it was cheap. I think it was from Costco, and it worked out at something like 40p a can. So it was just like, let's get 80 of them.
God.
Anyway,
you
fucking hell.
Your arteries would clog. We're going to go on to actual.
How many could you drink? Actually, your arteries don't clog. Your heart just goes crazy because there's too much caffeine.
Back in the olden days, the olden days, where we had
the most I've ever done is 2. Honestly, in one day.
When we used to have those community gaming days, I think we only did a couple of them back when our community consisted of like 10 people, because we were really, really small. And we'd do these days where we'd game with the community, but it was like 4 or 5 people would turn up at different points during the day. That would be impossible now. It would take a week just to do half the people that wanted to do it.
Just to do half the people? What's going on here?
I think we started at like 8 o'clock in the morning and finished at like 2 o'clock the following morning. And the second one of those, I didn't think I was going to make it, so I ended up getting a 4-pack of Monster. And I just drank all of them all through the day. And then I needed more come about 12 o'clock, so I had a 5th one.
No, 5. I would have 5 as the point where you die.
No, I had 5. It was fine. But then I didn't have any for like 2 weeks after that, because I was worried that I might have some sort of coronary event, so I just didn't have any. I'll tell you what, it keeps you going. You definitely don't get tired. You just sort of sat there like, what am I going to do next? But then after a couple of days, you're like, don't do it. Don't drink 5 cans of Monster. That's stupid. Anyway, the 6 can challenge. We're going to go on to actual news. A thing that has happened.
Heaven forbid.
People have been talking about this, and rightfully so, because it seems fucking stupid. It is the news that Star Wars Battlefront has a season pass, which you already knew. It's 40 quid. We already knew that. But it brings 16 new maps and more. So, according to PC Gamer, Star Wars Battlefront released this week, and it'll launch with 12 multiplayer maps. According to new details posted on the game's official website, the Season Pass will bring an additional 16 maps over the course of the next year. There are 4 expansions all up, with the first expected early in 2016. What else? There are 20 new pieces of galactic tech, which is like weapons and vehicles and cards, 4 more heroes and villains, as well as 4 new models. And if you get the Season Pass, you'll gain access to each expansion 2 weeks in advance. What? In addition to a shoot first emote. So it's 40 quid. It is £30, £39.99. It is $49.95. Or in Australia, because they get overcharged for everything, it is $69.95. Is it cents? Or I think it's cents, isn't it, for Australian dollars?
Yeah, cents. Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we've come to expect from EA. But this one seems particularly bad, if I'm honest, because for a start, introducing map packs and along with the expansions and so on, we already know that massively fragments the community, because it means people who can't afford the expansion or don't want to pony up 40 quid for 16 maps and 4 new guys, because that's quite a lot of money, really, for what it is. they're not going to have the new maps, which means they're not going to be able to play with all their mates. Which is
well, look at the
really
dates
crap.
on this. So the game's out now on all platforms. Came out on consoles before it came out on PC. But
Yeah.
if early 2016 is when the first load of maps drop and the community starts to get fragmented, you have paid full price for a game which is going to last you until January, maybe, and then there'll be loads more maps coming out. And if you don't have it, then you suffer from you just won't be able to play with your friends if they've got it, or you won't be able to just play. Like, population goes down on the more traditional game modes. You can see this on with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. It just keeps going down as more and more maps come out, and it all just gets fragmented to hell.
Yeah.
Obviously, the reason they do this is because it makes them a shitload of money, because I don't think they're too worried about active player base, because they've sold you a game for $60, right? Well, $50, 40 quid, whatever. They've sold you a game, and that's just the bottom of the barrel edition, because I've seen like editions on Origin for the PC version for like 55 quid and all kinds of shit. Probably do include like maybe the first DLC or something like that. But if you're buying the game and the game's only going to last you like 2 months before suddenly you need to spend more money on the game, it's not really a shock, because they've been doing this with Battlefield. But I mean, that's crap, because the game's community then is going to fracture. But you're going to get more money off them, as EA are going to earn more money off you, because you're buying the premium packs, the DLC on its own or whatever, and that you kind of end up after like a 12-month period where you've bought like 2 or maybe 3 times the amount that you've actually played for the first game in the first place. So it's like they milk you for cash. That's why they do it. It's not good. It's especially ridiculous with this, because Battlefront, if you read any of the reviews on Battlefront, and I've not played the launch version of it, I don't have it, but when I played the beta, I voiced some opinions or concerns, but there just isn't enough content in this game. It is interesting, and it is fun, and the sound design's great, the graphics are great. You come to expect that of DICE. The gunplay was very noob friendly, because there's so much spray on the guns. You don't actually have to aim at anyone. Like, it sounds weird. You just aim in a direction and fire, and you'll probably hit them, because there's loads of random spread with the blasters and God knows what. The game seemed to work much better in third person mode than it did in first person, which was kind of weird again, because you don't have any like aim penalties when you're running around shooting in third person, firing from the hip. You're still as accurate as looking down the sights. It makes no difference. And all of that. The game's still got that in it, because it's supposed to be like that, I guess. Very casual friendly, because he's trying to get all the Star Wars fans in. I go back to when I spoke to my barber a couple of weeks ago. He doesn't play games. He likes UFC and all this crap, but he's a massive Star Wars fan. He's got like all of the extended universe books and all of that shit, and he knows everything about all the. He frankly bores me when he tells me about it. It's so fucking disgraceful. He went and bought a PS4 to play this game. He is the target audience. The guy who is like in his late 30s, who had grown up with Star Wars, the new film's coming out, he needs it in his life, and he's got disposable income, so he can buy a £300 fucking games console and all of that shit. That's who they're going for. That's why the game's easier. Now, there are obviously more issues with this when you look at the reviews that were coming in. People saying things like, if you want to be an X-Wing pilot, you can't be an X-Wing pilot, because the power-ups are random on the map when you run around, like in the certain game modes, unless obviously you go into the what it's called. There's like an air combat only. It's not in space. That'll be DLC. But it's let's be honest, the space battle will just be a change of the skybox to be space, and that'll be it. But if you're in like the normal modes, let's say like the conquesty style modes and whatnot, you can't think, okay, I'm going to be the X-Wing pilot, because it's a random pickup power up on the map, and people rush to them, even if they're shit. And this annoyed me a little bit in the beta, because I knew I was quite good in the X-Wing and the TIE Interceptor. Okay, it was easy to do, but I knew I was quite good, and I felt like I was really changing the game when I was in them. Like, I was taking out the AT-ATs on the Hoth Assault level and all of that stuff. Whereas if I was just a guy running around on the ground, I just felt like a guy who was there to be killed by either the AT-AT or something else to blow me up. So I'd always want the X-Wing, but it was dead hard for me to get the X-Wing, because I'd be running towards it, and some little nab would run for it and get it, and I'd be like, you bastard! So what I'm trying to say is, I think, looking at all the reviews that have come out, they've basically said there's not enough content in the game. Then when I look at this, and it's like, there'll be 20 new pieces of tech, there'll be fucking 16 maps, and I'm like, where is all of this to begin with? Like, they have sold a game which is extremely light on content, and I think comparing it to Titanfall is kind of okay now. Like, in the past,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, in the past, I didn't think comparing it to Titanfall would be that fair, because I think, well, this is going to have a lot more legs than Titanfall, because it's Star Wars. But You know what? I have zero urge to play this game. Like I've got no urge. Like the reason I haven't played the game is because EA have not sent me a key. I haven't gone out and bought the game because I was absolutely gagging for it. Because I almost feel like I got my fill from the beta. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I was expecting there to be not that much more content, and now it's been proven that there actually isn't. There's a couple of different game modes, a couple of different maps. It's like, well, that isn't worth 50 quid to me. So
See, the thing is, well, you say that it's going to have more legs than Titanfall. I think it probably will, but I don't think it'll last nearly as long as
hang on.
people think it will either.
I stopped before I made my point. Before I thought that because it was Star Wars. Now though, I think it very much is a Titanfall situation. I think it will last a little bit longer because it is a Star Wars brand, but it's still the same kind of thing where it doesn't have enough content. I mean, just to throw a wild example out there right now, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 came out. Now, I don't care what you think about Call of Duty. That game has a shitload of content in it, which is weird for Call of Duty. It's got it's got a co-op campaign, an extensive campaign. Okay, it's just Call of Duty typical campaign stupidness, but it's still got a big campaign. It's got the Call of Duty multiplayer, which again is a massive system in itself. Even if you don't like it, you've still got to understand it is a big system, loads of unlocks and all of that stuff. Then it's got a complete, and I mean a complete, PvE zombies game mode. It isn't just like a stupid map. No, it's a complete game mode, and it's got like well-known actors in it, voice actors and everything. But then when you complete the campaign, you can play the campaign again with zombies instead of actually the enemies, and it changes the way the campaign works. And it's like that is a lot of content to be given for a Call of Duty game when they could have just sold them as DLC.
That's something that I think people don't actually appreciate. Because
before you come in, let me just say this. Just think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I think it comes to something when Call of Duty is giving more content than your game. I think you need to ask yourself what's going on there.
But that's what I was going to say. We kind of look at Call of Duty as being the ultimate recycled product. It comes around every single year. It's pretty much always exactly the same. They might change the settings slightly or change the look of the guns, but the base experience of Call of Duty is always going to be the same as, well, the base experience of Call of Duty. They don't really innovate the series at all. That being said, whilst they don't change a lot and they don't try and push it forward a great deal, Call of Duty has never really been that light on actual content. Some have been better than others for content, admittedly, and this latest one I think is probably one of the most sort of jam-packed games you can get in terms of just what it offers. You know, you've got single-player campaign, co-op campaign, you've got multiplayer, you've got zombies, you've got another version of the campaign as well. It's really rammed with stuff. But Call of Duty has never been one of those games where it's like you buy it and you're getting fuck all for your money. But this Battlefront, it feels like you're buying it, you're getting fuck all for your money. And that's a serious problem, especially when you consider that the Battlefield series, which I know Battlefront is not Battlefield, although it kind of is in a lot of ways, is very similar in a lot of ways it handles itself.
Not really, because the gunplay is totally different. You can't spawn into any vehicle you want. It's just sort of slimmed with the scale ish. Even then, that's been reeled back a bit. But you can see the Battlefield influence. That's DICE influence.
Battlefield has been declining in popularity a lot, and I know this is Battlefront, and I know it's Star Wars, and I know it's not the same franchise, but it's produced by the same people with a similar approach in terms of what they give you at base and what they give you in terms of DLC, and how they're approaching their DLC strategy with like the season pass and the custom DLC packs and all that kind of thing. Despite the fact it's Star Wars, I really think you're only going to have the absolute hardcore nutters playing this game within a couple of months. I really do.
Yeah, no, I think the game's...
It's too empty. It's just that's the problem. It's just too empty for what it is.
I need to go back to my experience with the beta, because I can't replicate this experience even if I own the game right now, which, as I said, I don't own Battlefront right now. But if I did, I don't think I would play it for as much as I played the beta, because that was it. And how much did I play the beta for? I can't tell you because I don't think Origin tells you playtime, but it must be, or maybe it does, I don't know. But if I was just to guess, I'd say something like 10 hours maybe, and that was it. Now you can go back to the age-old argument of like, well, Sty, if you did pay $50 and it was 10 hours, you've paid like what, $6 an hour for your entertainment or something like that. So that's not that bad really, considering how much the cinema costs and all of this. And I'm thinking, yeah, but when you look at other games that are available and the amount of, if you really want to quantify a game's worth by how long you actually play the game for, That's not that much. But my issue with the game now is the way the beta was handled. People like me who have played the beta don't really have much incentive to go and play the actual launch game because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Now I look around at a lot of YouTubers who are producing content on this game, and I hate to be awfully cynical, but the only reason they're doing it is because they're basically being paid to do it. And I'm like, well, and paid to do it in a few different ways. Obviously, directly from EA with their Ronku system, which is the paid influencer system they run for YouTubers and streamers and stuff, and also down to the fact it's Star Wars, which again comes back to the whole thing of I think it'll be one of the biggest selling games of the year. Whether it'll be the biggest, I don't know, considering the figures I've seen of Fallout, which make me kind of sick, but there you go. I think this is going to do well. But then beyond that, I mean, in January, I don't think anyone's going to give a shit about this. We'll see news about the DLC. Oh, it's a new game mode or some shit coming in. But, I mean, the only people who go back to it will be the guys who are pumping the YouTube videos out right now. I mean, hell, if you look at the channels, there's a lot of Battlefield channels, which obviously they'll have close ties to EA. They enjoy Battlefield. They pump out Battlefield videos. You look at those guys, I don't think they'll be making Star Wars Battlefront videos next week.
No.
Back to Battlefield. You know what I mean? It's like...
It's just, it kind of... It's a little bit frustrating because I think Battlefront could have been something really, really good, and in fact, it could still end up being something really, really good once the DLC's dropped, and all the content that, to be honest, should be in the game now, for the price they're asking, is actually in there. It could be really good, but the problem is that I have no desire to play a game where it's launching with 12 maps and it's going to cost me the game again to get more maps. And, there's a certain amount of tech available and a certain number of guns, and then it's going to cost me the same price as the game again to get more tech and more guns. Especially when you consider, and this is the other thing as well, like when they say things like, oh, there's going to be new tech and new guns and whatever, I realise the guns all fire differently, but the way they operate is exactly the same. Every single gun is just pray and spray. That's all it is. You just stand there and you fire in the general direction of someone because there's no accuracy whatsoever on the main weapons. There might be on that... what's it called? The kinetic rifle, or whatever it's called. Where you actually have to aim the sniper rifle type thing. But all the main weapons that you're holding are massively inaccurate, and the only difference is they fire at different rates. And I'm just thinking, where is the where is the advantage to having the new stuff? Why is stuff that's going to be exactly the same as the stuff we've got now costing the same again to put in? Because they can't introduce, this is the other thing as well. They could not introduce in one of the DLC packs, or along with the season pass, or whatever, a gun that is like the guns that you already have, except it's massively accurate, because that would break the game. Because all the guns were massively inaccurate. So if you had one that had the same fire rate as, what is it, the EB11 blaster rifle, whatever it's called, and then suddenly you've got another one that's like that, only it actually fires where you aim the reticule, you've just broken the game. So you kind of know that they're not going to do that, because that's not really how they've operated before, and it wouldn't make any sense to operate that like now. So instead, you're just going to get the same stuff you've already got, but you've got to pay again for it. And if you don't pay, it's going to fracture it. It's just, I think it's getting a bit daft. I think it's getting a bit stupid now. With it seems to be EA mainly. I know Ubisoft are quite bad for this as well, but EA especially seem to have this habit of locking more stuff than is in the original game behind a season pass for that game. I mean, there is more content coming out for this game than there is already. 12 maps on launch, but 16 with a season pass.
Do you remember when these started happening, these passes and stuff, especially with like people coming out and saying, I mean, like this right now, if they're saying they've got this number of maps that will be, they know how many maps will be there. They've got these game modes that will be coming out. They're already working on these game modes. If not, they've already created them, and you know that. And it's like, well, they've just turned them off. But to turn them on, they're going to charge us, and it is annoying. But what I do think Battlefront is good for is those initial first few hours where you play, you feel like you're in a Star Wars battle. I think that's what they tried to create. It really does feel like that because of all the sound effects and like, TIE fighters flying above and AT-ATs blasting away and all of that. But then this is the problem. If you're if you're just not like a really casual gamer and you're anybody who wants to actually get better at games or, be competitive or try a little bit and not just sit there and go, wow, lasers. Soon realize, especially like on the Hoth level, where you were just like, it's pointless being infantry. know the best times to get into the AT-AT to just get massive kills. You know what would be the best thing to do here and there. And it was just kind of like start pulling the game apart. Then you start thinking to yourself, oh, well, the reload time of the grenade's stupidly low. The rebel base in the caverns, it's just a slaughter fest to get you there, and it's like, well, so you see loads of problems with the map design, you see problems with the game, with the weapons and all of that, and that's where it really falls down. But those first initial few hours, I think a lot of people who are casual, really casual, and do pick this game up will think it's a great game, and it is because of that, because that's how they'll play it. They'll just play it for like an hour, half an hour or something like that, get their little fix and be away. And I don't know, to me it's a bit of a shame, because I mean, I did say months and months ago I didn't want a skin. Oh, well, just a skinned Battlefield, but now I kind of do want a skinned Battlefield for it. I think that would have been more interesting to me, but again, it would still have this DLC season pass nightmare where a lot of content is not in the game yet.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because they've managed to nail the atmosphere absolutely dead on, but in nailing the atmosphere, it's almost like the actual gameplay is taking a back seat. It's like, okay, so you feel like a stormtrooper, you feel like a rebel guy, you feel like you're flying an X-wing, but we've put so much effort into making you feel as though you are in the Star Wars universe that we didn't have time to make it feel like you were actually hitting someone when you fired your gun at them, or we didn't have time to make it so that when you threw a grenade, there was some sort of risk involved in it, because, you don't get your grenade back 5 seconds later, whatever it is, because it's, as you say, the recharge on those was ridiculous. It's a bit odd. I think you're right. I think it'll do really well at launch. I think it'll sell ridiculously well. I think we could see figures that say it's one of the best-selling games of the year, to be honest, because it's Star Wars and it's Battlefront.
Well, it's just and it'll have a spike when the film comes out, I think, as well. It's just an arcadey shooter from a company where Battlefield is still an arcadey Battlefield. It's not fucking Armor, is it? Let's be honest, but it's still way more hardcore than Battlefront is, and you've got this like really casual arcadey Star Wars cinematic battle game where you can take part in these iconic battles, and that's basically it. And I think that's probably enough for the average Star Wars fan, and I think they know that, because the average Star Wars fan now, well, I'd say the average Star Wars fan is probably going to go out and buy these games. Is probably older than the Call of Duty fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that they can just be like, if it's easy for them, they're not too bad, because they're old and decrepit with arthritis. Okay.
They're gonna do a Yoda and just fade away. But I tell you what, let's go on to more EA actually. So this is the news that EA are working on their own open world action game. And this is because they have got hold of someone called Jade Raymond, who is behind the Assassin's Creed franchise for Ubisoft, and she's going to be building an action genre through a studio that EA are building out in Montreal, which is kind of funny because isn't Ubisoft Montreal? Well,
Assassin's Creed,
yeah. So yeah, they've never
There's been a bit of sniping going on here.
Yeah, they've never had a. I mean, I switched over to the page, but really, that's all there is to it. They've never really had a kind of Assassin's Creed style open world game of their own, and something kind of that stood out for me with this is, I know a lot of people apparently play the game, even though I never see anything about it anymore. You remember The Crew? I think the expansion Wild Run recently announced. When I played that, aside from some sort of irritating issues with how the cars drove, I made the comment that it was like Need for Speed, but it was Need for Speed as made by Ubisoft. So the actual gameplay was pretty much the same. The way you upgraded your cars was kind of very familiar as someone who played a lot of Need for Speed games back in the day. I just find it really interesting that we're now getting the big publishers and the big developers and so on they're starting to like intertwine what they do. So Ubisoft was the place for these big sort of open world sprawling, Assassin's Creed, and you got Far Cry and so on. It's like that they became known for that. And then they moved into something they'd never done before. They did Need for Speed, basically. That's what The Crew was. Except it was Need for Speed in a big, sprawling, open-world area, which admittedly was nowhere near as big as they said it would be. And now EA are going after something that they've never had before either. They're like moving into the territory of another publisher. I really like this because with any luck, there actually being competition for these different genres, like real competition. I mean, I know there's plenty of open world sort of action adventure games out there, but Ubisoft is undeniably the king of that with Assassin's Creed and with Far Cry. They have got that under lock because those games have a massive following. And they're published by a huge studio, so they can put all the marketing costs towards it. They can absolutely slam it in everyone's faces all day long. And they have been doing, which is how those games have got so popular. If we have companies like EA looking at that and going, okay, Assassin's Creed, it's doing really well, but it's starting to fall in popularity. Far Cry, I think Far Cry 4 did pretty well, but I don't think it did that much better than Far Cry 3. If I remember correctly, for the sales for that. But Assassin's Creed is definitely going down. Watch Dogs collapsed. I don't think we'll ever see a sequel to that. Because, I mean, we said we thought we'd see Watch Dogs 2, what was it, E3? But it never happened, funnily enough.
What's the one that they've teased for the last couple of E3s, and now we don't know what it is? It looks like a Destiny-style game. What's that bloody called?
Oh, is that the Tom Clancy
Tom
one?
Clancy
Division.
something.
The Division.
And isn't there another Tom Clancy game as well, which was some sort of
Rainbow
Mexican?
Six Siege is the other one.
No. There's like a Mexican
I know what
one,
you mean.
remember?
Yeah. Oh, shit. I can't remember what that's called.
And that was open world. That looked like open world shit as well. I mean...
Yeah. I like the fact that EA's doing this because much, we've just said that EA really shit for the DLC practices, but anything that shakes up an established publisher in their preferred genre is obviously good because it creates competition, doesn't it? It creates something whereby for EA to really knock Ubisoft out of the running, they need to produce something really good. Not something formulaic and old like Assassin's Creed or like Far Cry. Not something that just copies those games directly, but something that takes what they do and makes it better and twists it to make it more innovative and more interesting. And if they do that, that means Ubisoft have then got to do something even better than that to try and earn back the people that they've lost to whatever this turns out to be from EA. And they fucking need it because...
Well, I've never been a fan of this genre. I've never been a fan of Assassin's Creed, right? And not really the Fallout, bloody Far Cry.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a big audience for this, but the audience is declining. Now, why is it declining? Obviously, somebody at EA has looked at this and gone, well, why is it declining? Well, all Ubisoft have done for the last 3 years is produce the same fucking game in each one of those series. And it's like, that's why it's dying. But, I have seen, and I've got to be honest, I have seen hardly anything about Assassin's Creed, the new Assassin's Creed. You just don't see anything about it. It's like, okay, you might see like Let's Plays on YouTube from typical channels and whatever, but you don't ever see anyone talking about it. There's no like, but because it's just the same.
Kind of rare. Like I expected to see a lot more Let's Play and like Let's Watch content from different creators for Assassin's Creed Syndicate because firstly, some channels obviously paid to do it. I know of at least 2 that were. But beyond those, there's been nothing, and it's just been like, well, hang on. People like this franchise, except I don't think they really do anymore. Like I'd cite myself as a classic example of this. It's like Assassin's
you're
Creed
a better
3
example than me.
Just killed it.
Yeah,
I fucking hated that game. It was just garbage. It was terrible to the point where I missed Black Flag. Now I've since gone back and played Black Flag, and I really enjoyed it. But then after Black Flag, you've got Unity. And some aspects of Unity are actually pretty decent. Like, for a start, I like the fact that for the first time since, I think, Brotherhood, you could actually plan your assassinations. So it wasn't just, here is the one window that is a route to get to your target, run in and kill everybody. You could actually do it stealthily in Unity. And once it had been fixed up and all the various free stuff had been given out, it was a good, well-rounded game. But, of course, the damage was already done. It took away the innovation that Black Flag had with the ships, and introduced a shit ton of bugs and stuff as well. So it's like, we don't care about this game anymore. Syndicate comes out, why bother? Like, I think that's basically what most of the people who played Assassin's Creed thought. Either why bother, or, oh, I'll give it a try. But there was no overwhelming enthusiasm for it like there has been for previous Assassin's Creed titles. The same thing is bound to happen with Far Cry as well. As I say, I can't remember the sales figures for Far Cry 4. I think it did all right, but Far Cry 4 was pretty much exactly the same as Far Cry 3. There was almost no change to the game there. It was ridiculous how cloned it was. Watch Dogs was obviously a complete failure. I'm never usually I don't usually sit there and look and see like, oh, big publisher is working on a game that is similar to what another big publisher is doing,
Well,
and go,
I've
oh,
got a couple
awesome.
of figures here. Now, I don't know how accurate these are, but I probably agree with them. So, Far Cry 3, 11 million units, right? Far Cry 4, 7 million units. So down.
Right.
But Assassin's Creed Unity and Rogue combined sold 10 million units. So it took 2 games to sell 10 million. So you can see there is definitely. I mean, it says the last year report said that Far Cry 3 sold much better than anticipated, with only 4.5 million copies released in the same period. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so you can, if these figures to be believed, which I guess they are because they're taken from Ubisoft's financial reports.
Yeah.
If you sold, what was it, 10, 11, 12 million? No, 11 million for Far Cry 3, and then you're selling 7 million. Your next Far Cry, you're going to be lucky to get 7 million again. I know it's caveman stuff, isn't it? Far Cry, I'm the caveman.
Yeah,
Neanderthal. Far Cry Neanderthal. That's what they should have called it. Neanderthal.
Given that, you know what? Given that was such like that's a big departure from what they've done with Far Cry for quite some time now.
I think they know they need to do something.
Well, now that this has been announced, I want to know when this Jade Redmond person, when she left Ubisoft to go to EA. I want to know if they found out about that and that affected what they were going to do with Far Cry. I would love to know whether they got partway through Far Cry 4, because I'm sure it's 2 different studios that do those. I think it's the same as Assassin's Creed. I think they switch out year by year. I think. I could be wrong about that. But I want to know if they were partway through developing another Far Cry and it was, oh shit, Jade's left. Like, she's gone. Where's she gone? Oh, EA. Oh shit, we need to do something. We've got to do something. Or whether it was just prompted by falling interest, or whether there was some other factor at play, whether someone new came in and was like, guys, what are you doing? Stop just making the same game over and over again. Because the thing is, we could put it down to, oh yeah, well, I mean, interest is falling, so they had to do something. But we know that's not the case. We know that that's not the case. We know they don't have to do something, because they quite often don't. I mean, if they went by that logic, then they wouldn't have released Syndicate at all, because Assassin's Creed interest has been falling steadily for years.
The levels of stagnation with AAA design is ridiculous now. Well, it's not so much that, well, yeah, the design has stagnated, but it gets overly pointlessly complex. And Assassin's Creed is a great example of this, with all the extra stuff they slam into it. I mean, I remember when I got the it was Assassin's Creed 3. It was, which was probably the worst Assassin's Creed to play as your first one, which is probably why I've been irreparably damaged when it comes to the game. Because I remember loading that up, and I just totally naively thought, oh, okay, I'm just going to be this guy. And then I'm like, what? I'm like, now I'm in the modern times, and then I'm in this place, and I'm in it. And it was like, it felt like about 3 different game studios worked on the same game and made 3 different games and slammed them together into one. And I was like, Jesus Christ, there was just so much shit going on. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, the design has stagnated. I mean, all that's happened, it's dead easy when you look back at this. Look at Call of Duty, look at Assassin's Creed, look at Far Cry, name The Sims, I guess, falls into this as well. These are like games that were innovative at the time. They came in and it was like, wow, this is reinvented the genre, it's invented the genre or whatever, and it did really well. And then all they've done from the next fucking 7 years after that is produce the game again.
Yeah.
And Battlefield, I guess, is another example. Just keep making the game again and again and again, but putting more complexity onto the game, but not actually changing the game. So what you end up with is you've got this fan base which might be large, and they do want to play, Assassin's Creed games. But what they don't want to do is play the same base mechanic Assassin's Creed game again, but with a shitload more side missions, a shitload more customization, or you can play as 2 different characters. Or no, what they want is a different base experience, and you can't keep giving them that. Like, you get fatigued, don't you? You get like people are just going to get bored of this, and they are getting bored of it, and it's taken a long time. But when you said, obviously, it was worth making a Syndicate, and it's probably worth making the next 5 Assassin's Creeds as well, because even though the numbers are dropping, they're still selling millions and millions of units. So they know how much these games cost to develop, which will be a lot because they're AAA games. Provided they still make enough money back, they'll just keep going with it until something horrendously catastrophic happens, and then at that point, they'll just try and do something different. That's all they ever do.
This is one of the things I really... I get really frustrated with Assassin's Creed, because the up until Revelations, it was probably one of my favourite game series ever, and I really enjoyed it, and it just felt like it steadily got better. Now I look at it and I just think you've got the ability to go anywhere in time with this series. You could go forward, you could go all the way back. You've got endless possibilities in terms of weapons, of settings. You've got the entire world. You've introduced a fucking alien race. You don't even have to stay on Earth. You could go wherever the hell you like. But instead we get, oh, it's Assassin's Creed again, but this time in Victorian London. But it's still the same. Although it's still the same weapons as well. They introduced guns, like quite a few back.
Black Flag had guns. In fact, I think
Revelations had guns.
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was in the Renaissance period, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like so. But of course, you've still got your stupid wrist blade because that's the symbol of the assassins.
Yeah, it's iconic. Yeah.
Where is the Assassin's Creed set in feudal Japan, or where is the Assassin's Creed set in Africa, or where is the Assassin's Creed set 500 years into the future, where instead of a wrist blade, you've got some sort of crazy future weapon that you can use from I don't know,
like a Protoss thing.
Yeah, anything,
like a zealot blade.
But having the same leather armband with a fucking blade sticking out, running up to people and trying to cut them in the throat before they shoot you. Anything but that. And they could probably kick the series back into gear and actually get new people in and get old people in, because people are like, holy shit, look at this. Look at this. But instead they always go the safe route. And it's the same with a lot of these big publishers where they could try something brand new. They could try something totally different. They could try and really push the boundary of what their franchise is capable of. But they don't. Instead they go, well, the last one worked, so we'll just make the same one again. And
that's business. This is the thing. These guys running these companies, the boards and whatever, they need results, and they know if you're making a product that's working, well, keep making the product.
Yeah.
Why change the product? EA are probably the worst for this because shit, they've got FIFA. I mean, FIFA. It's like the sales of FIFA and all of their sports games, you know, like Madden and the NHL, and all that stuff. They're like the best-selling games every year. FIFA. I mean, I'm sure FIFA was like.
Aren't EA responsible for
Call of Duty beat that this year? Or maybe Fallout 4 has, but
it might do. Well, we'll move on.
It's like every year. Every year, it's like 10 million sales easy. Every year.
Aren't EA the ones who do the wrestling games as well? The WWE,
no, that's 2K.
2K 15, 16. That's 2K, is it? Because those are bad. Those are bad games.
Yeah,
they
it's
horrendous. And
it's
they're
not.
the
it's
same every
2K,
year.
man. I think it's 2K. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they do NBA. Yeah, they've got NBA in the
yeah.
wrestling games. NBA, Battleborn, Civ. And well, obviously XCOM. Battleborn's their Overwatch style game, I think. Not out yet though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't play the wrestling games, but I mean, with the EA thing, they can basically they own the sports genre completely. And the best thing about that is, how do you update a football game? Well, you just change the players and the kits, don't you? You don't really have to do that much. Well, you don't. But they do, to be fair to them, introduce a load of shit. But I mean, I with but it seems crazy now because another FIFA game's out from the FIFA that I was playing on I think it was the Xbox One. That I mean, I knew nothing about it. The last FIFA game I played was like years and years ago, but it had this whole like collectible card system in it, which went back to the era of. Do you remember those Panini sticker albums you could get for footballers?
Yes.
I used to collect them when I was a kid, and loads of football fans would have done that. You know, I remember like my dad would come home from work and he'd have like a packet for me, and I'd open it, and then there'd be a shiny in there, and it'd be like a badge, and it'd be like, you know, Man United's badge, or you might get Oldham's badge. That was shit, or like Norwich for the fuck, you know,
like,
or
it's
Wigan.
like Pokemon for non-nerds.
Yeah, basically it was, and you stuck them into you had to try and build the team like in the pages. They were great, but that's what they've introduced into the game. So when I seen that, I was like, hey, this is quite cool. And it was, because you could go, it was Ultimate Team, it was called. And you could play the game. And when you'd like beat people, you get like points, which you could spend on card packs, or you could spend real money, obviously, because it's EA.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to spend real money. Now, obviously, if you wanted to be competitive, I think you did have to spend money. But I thought it was just a fun thing anyway, because I had a team where have any player from any time. So you could have like Eric Cantona up front with like Yap Stam in defense. Those are players not from the same era.
Yeah.
Or like you could have Pele or somebody, or Maradona with Michael Owen or somebody. They're not, you know, they're not in this, and that was like, wow, this is cool. You can build like, and then you got bonuses. So it started to get even more complicated. Whereas if you had players in your team from the same team, they would benefit each other, and players would be linked together. So like your right back would be linked to your right wing, and if they were both from the same team, they would work better together because right back and the right wing attack with each other. Like the right back supports the right wing as you go forward, and vice versa. So that was like, this is really good. And I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, yes.
How is it though that a FIFA game is introducing new, like, interesting features, but Assassin's Creed can't manage it? All it is football. It never changes. It's the same.
No.
Football doesn't change. It's always the same thing. How the fuck is
like
that?
I said,
God,
they don't have to do that. All they could do would just release it again with like a new little skill system, because that's what they always seem to do. Graphics will just get a little bit better, but to be honest, they look good enough anyway. And then change the kits, change the fucking players in the teams, and that's it.
Well, with any luck,
I don't know.
EA doing their own kind of open world action thing might actually do something. It might shake it up a little bit, even if it's just a little bit. I just want to see it shaken up a bit, because Ubisoft's got a stranglehold on it. And apart from things like, and I know there's things like the Phantom Pain and so on, and The Witcher and stuff for open world action stuff, but it's not. When I say it's not in the same league, what I mean is it's not the same. It is a similar genre. It's not the same genre, and it's not the same in terms of implementation. These aren't games coming out every fucking year. You're not going to see The Witcher 4 next year. You know, you're not going to see the Phantom Pain, or I don't know, the Missing Limb or whatever it's called in 2016. You're not going to see any of that. We're talking like
we ain't going to see that full stop.
We're talking like yearly installments of long-standing franchises. There's no competition to that at the moment, and it sucks because it means that it's stagnating and it's getting worse. If EA can do something to shake it up, of all companies, then go for it. You know, talking of long-standing franchises that make a big impact, Fallout 4 launched with 12 million units worldwide. So, as it says, in what is likely the days and perhaps the year's most egregious example of understatement, Bethesda Softworks has issued a statement announcing the successful launch of Fallout 4. Bethesda said the Fallout 4 launched with approximately 12 million units worldwide to meet day one demand, representing sales in excess of $750 million. To be clear, that's not the same as launch day sales, which, while no doubt astronomical, haven't been released yet. Bethesda did say, however, that the Fallout 4 Pip-Boy edition was the fastest-selling collector's edition of any game in history at leading retailers, and that some stores were reporting better day one sales for Fallout 4 than for any other game this year.
Surprised?
Not really, to be honest.
Worried though, because this Bethesda. Bethesda. You've got two ways you can go, Bethesda. I think, to be honest, there maybe three. So the first way is we look at the results in our big boardroom made of
gold,
walnut,
diamonds.
Walnut table. I've got a fascination with walnut table.
Swarovski
ever since
stones in the walls.
Ever since a disgustingly filthy rich woman showed me her walnut dash in a Bentley. I think it's an X-Siege or something like. It's a massive Bentley, not the Continental GT. It was just a big Bentley, and I was like, anyway.
My bass guitar's got walnut in the neck and mahogany.
Anyway, they can go one, two, or three ways. The first way is they sit there in a boardroom and they're like, Jesus Christ, guys, we've made the fastest selling game of the year. We've done $750 million in sales, and we've only been out like a week. We had the fastest selling collector's edition. Because Fallout 5 will just be the same as Fallout 4, because that's the same as Fallout 3, and we've just made a load of money. Or they could be like, wow, guys, this has been insanely successful. We thought it would be successful because Fallout 3 was quite successful. But really, we haven't changed that much, and we kind of made the game on a budget because the game is so buggy and shit, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to do now is actually get a new engine. We're not going to use fucking the creative engine, which is built on that Gamebryo shit. No. We're going to get a new engine. We're going to get rid of all the stupid bugs, which the game is rammed with, and we're going to actually innovate the series because, hey, look at CD Projekt Red. They took their Witcher genre, their Witcher game, and launched the RPG genre into the modern age. We haven't done that. We've just give people Fallout 3 on a slightly bigger scale with slightly better graphics and a shitload of bugs. Or number 3, they go, I don't know, we didn't expect that. Wow. I don't know what number 3 is.
Number 3 is they accept that they won't ever do any better and not produce another Fallout game.
Oh, yeah, that could be number 3, but that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
So, yeah. Am I shocked that the sales are this high? I'm not shocked. What I am shocked about is people's blind acceptance to just accept anything Bethesda gives them as the greatest thing ever. Now, Fallout 3 was Bethesda's first Fallout game. Fallout 4 is their second game. Fallout New Vegas, which everybody says is way better than Fallout 3, is from Obsidian.
Yeah.
It's not from Bethesda. That's probably why they know how to write, because apparently that game is insane for the stories, the dialogue, and all of that.
You know what?
This game is not.
I've been reading a lot about Fallout 4 this week, funnily enough. If you've seen the video on the channel that I put up earlier, that sparked quite a lot of conversations on the channel. I've been on various different websites and so on, a couple of them which link the video, and I've come across some stuff that I never really twigged before. Even though I played Skyrim all the way through, and I really enjoyed Skyrim. Bethesda have a nasty habit of catapulting the player through the story, like at an insane rate. And people have pointed out examples in Fallout 4 as well, where it's like, and in Skyrim, where you come across a group of people, and it's like, we don't trust outsiders, we don't like them. And then 10 minutes later, you are the leader of
you're
their
like
group.
The king, yeah.
Like, I mean, it happens in Skyrim when you go to the College of Winterhold, isn't it? Is it Winterhold? Winter something or other.
Winterhold, yeah.
Yeah. And
you want to say Winterfell? I know.
Yeah, I know. I always want to say Winterfell. And you go and you go and talk to them, and you get a quest from them, and then you're off in a cave killing bloody skeletons and Draugr and however you pronounce them, and then suddenly you're the head of the college. Like just straight away, it's like, oh, hello, stranger. Do you want to become the fucking archmage of the college? Okay, there you go. Off you go. Now, as someone who didn't even use magic in Skyrim, for me that was like, okay, never went back there. Never. I was the head of the college. I never went back. It's like, why have you? And it's the same with this. Like someone was pointing out, you have like the Minutemen, for instance, in Fallout 4.
Yeah, those are the guys you come across who are in your settlement at the start.
Yeah. And then it's just like.
Well, actually, can I just jump in here? There was a quite a good video from I forgot his name. Jesus, I forgot his name. He's an Australian.
Is it Super Bunny Hop?
No. He's an Australian guy. Or it might be from New Zealand. I don't know. He StarCraft 2 videos. He started off with just Diablo videos and Path of Exile videos, and he did a video on Fallout 4.
Oh, damn! I know you.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, he made a video, and he was like, "Can't be evil in Fallout 4."
Yes.
Now,
yes. I
said,
remember watching this,
and this just makes sense. Like when you start the game, you meet the Minutemen, right? And the Minutemen are under attack in a museum, and you have to run through to get to the Minutemen, right? You can kill all the raiders and get to the Minutemen. But he didn't kill the raiders. He ran past the raiders, right? And he wanted to kill the Minutemen. He gets in there. You can't kill them because they're invincible. Also, he can't not accept the quest, because even if you say I don't want to do it, it still in a roundabout way makes you do the quest. And then when you walk out the building, you're suddenly killing all these raiders, and it's like, well, the only way to not do this is to run away. Now, what he said is, why do you have to be the good guy? Like, this is, you don't have to be the good guy in Skyrim or anything like that. You can just fucking wreck people. You can just be an asswipe. That's how you should be able to. It's an RPG, right? You should be able to just be whatever you want to be. Let's get disconnected from reality. I always like playing wanker characters in games because it's not what I would do in real life. So he said, why don't they, instead of helping the Minuteman, what about if you killed the Minuteman and the raider leader turned up and was like, oh my god, that was awesome. We're off to go and pillage this town, Sanctuary, which is where your little crafted base is. Do you want to come with us? At which time you go there and then you build your base there. You're still evil, but it's still the same, But no, the game forces you down one kind of path, and you have to do that. There was also the thing me and you were laughing about with the just the way the wasteland looks. If it's so far in the future,
200 years after the nuclear sort of apocalypse, and
and correct me if I'm wrong. People are actually living in Nagasaki and Hiroshima right now, and that was not bombed 100 years ago.
And people, and it's the fact that when you look at it, there's like broken shit everywhere. You're walking around with laser guns and laser rifles and radiation blasters, and you've got power armor, that's powered by fusion cores, and you can walk around in a giant mechanized suit. No one's worked out how to fix a bike or a car, so everyone has to walk everywhere. No one's worked out that you can attach horses.
Well, you know what that is as well. You know what that is as well. I said this when I was streaming the game. Why are there not vehicles in this game? That would have been innovation. But I think there are helicopters.
That's the thing.
There's a helicopter.
What they call vertibirds.
Yeah. But there's no cars or anything or motorbikes. Imagine how cool it would be to get on a motorbike and just like
Yeah.
tazz around like the fucking, you know what I mean? Like,
It's
yeah,
like
boys.
they've got the ability to fly, but no one's worked out how to fix a car or motorcycle. Everyone walks everywhere. When you go into people's houses, and I've seen people complain about like settlements and stuff, where they've managed to clean up most of it, except the floor is textured as a layer of
Like
crap.
rubbish. Yeah.
So there's like newspapers and there's blood and shit everywhere. People are sleeping on bare mattresses that are still filthy. Houses haven't got any windows. You know, you can clean up an entire room, but then there'll just be a skeleton sat in the corner and you can't do anything about it because it's just a part of the building. Why are people 200 years after the fallout, you know, they've been living in this place, why are they incapable of actually repairing anything? You know, why are they living in filth? Why are they not learning how to make new clothes? Why haven't they adapted their technological prowess, which allows them to carry around fucking laser rifles and miniature nuclear weapon launchers, to, I don't know, fixing the house so that if a storm blows through, they wouldn't die of frostbite? It's just... I enjoyed Skyrim.
You know,
I did
yeah.
like
Well,
it.
hang on. The thing with Skyrim compared to that is Skyrim is not. It's not a wasteland. Skyrim is just what makes Skyrim a bit different is it was a region where people were living in there. So it was just it could be any period in time. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So when you were going into like the old ancient ruins, it was kind of similar to going into like you know, Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt, like 50 or 60 years ago, whenever they did it, or well, I think it was longer than that. That kind of thing. So it kind of worked. But with Fallout, you're in a place which has been destroyed, and suddenly it's got a lot of technology, and it's 200 years from the destruction, and they seem to have a shitload of technology. Yet everybody's still living in squalor. Nobody's like the government would have reformed at this point. I know there kind of is like a bit of government, but there would be a national government. It would not just be a wasteland. I don't think
something would have.
I mean, it depends on. I'm sure people will be saying like in the comments below right now, yeah, but the destruction was so complete and total, like everybody was killed. You know, so there's just like little tribes of people. How the hell would a nation form off that? But we're talking about 200 years. This ain't like 20 years, which I think actually in the older Fallout games, I don't think they were like
no, they were only a few years. Like again, New Vegas came up as the example where it's like New Vegas is sort of within. I think someone said when you get to where all the casinos are and stuff, and you go into the big cities, we're talking like 7 years ago, these people were like tribes fighting with each other, but they got their shit together and made a city out of the area that they were fighting over. And I think with Skyrim, it doesn't matter so much because it's like it's not an apocalyptic wasteland. But and I wonder if this
which annoys me. It isn't an apocalyptic wasteland. Oh no, sorry. Fallout doesn't feel like an apocalyptic wasteland to me. You know what it feels like? Feels like a shanty town.
But
it
I
don't feel
that's
like
part
it's
of the
been
problem
blown
that
up.
I've had with like the Bethesda Fallout games, where thematically it doesn't make any sense. You can't have people with advanced technology and suits of power armor and the ability to fight off raiders and deathclaws and super mutants living in a broken house with no door and no windows with a skeleton sitting in the corner with just crap everywhere. Like, it doesn't work. It's too much of a contrast. You can't have something that's so far in the future that they have got advanced technology, which they didn't have before, and yet so close to a nuclear apocalypse that everything is still in ruins. You can't do both.
No.
But they have done both. And something that really throws me out of any game that's supposed to be like immersive, especially when you're playing a character, which you are in Skyrim and in Fallout 4 and Witcher and whatever, you're playing a character, whether it's a character that is already named in that world, you know, like Geralt, or whether it's a character of your own making, you are Geralt. So I always say Geralt. Geralt. I don't know why I always say Geralt. Yeah, if you're then put into a world that is supposed to wrap around that character, but only some of the world works, that breaks your game for me. Like, when I'm playing a single-player game, and it's got a story, and a distinct theme around everywhere you go, I need that to be consistent, because I can suspend disbelief, and of course I do, because I play games all the time, but at some point, in my head, I'm always going to be like, why the fuck is that building looking like that in this place? Like, why is that skeleton in that... Why is that guy swimming down the high street, you know, if you want to go for an extreme example? And the same thing, in a way, I kind of had the same thing with Skyrim, where it was like, I like the fact that there were books everywhere. Like, you could go into people's houses, and I was like, oh, this guy's got a book on the bedstand. It did throw me off when it turned out that there were like 8 books in the entirety of Skyrim's world, and so everyone had the same book, and it was like, hang on, I've seen this book about 18 times now. What's going on here? But it's kind of that's more easy to overlook. You have to actually search for that, as opposed to going into someone's house where they live.
But you can believe that as well, considering the age that Skyrim is set in. It's not in the future with mass production, so there would be minimal amounts of books. I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. You've got like the Elder Scrolls world is more believable than the Fallout world, I think. The Elder Scrolls world is high fantasy, and that's fine. But Fallout, it just is.
It's like a weird mix of like post-apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. So it's kind of stuck in a middle ground.
It is. It's post-apocalyptic because there's too many people as well. This is what it's kind of jarring to me. This is as well. You're running around, and there's just loads of people. It's like a living world. There's so many people like that you meet and that you come across. You don't feel like you're this guy who's supposed to be surviving the fucking wasteland. You're just like a guy who's in. I mean, you could be anywhere. You could literally be in a fucking. You could be, I don't know, in an African country. You could be, well, on any country on Earth that is not developed, but for some reason has ultra developed equipment that they just use every now and again. Honestly, you could.
Yeah.
You know,
this is something as well where when I made that Fallout video earlier in the week, which you've probably watched, a lot of you. If you haven't, you probably should. At no point in the video do I say that people shouldn't like the game as well. Like,
no. And I've said this as well. It's not a bad game. It's just I don't get people who blindly defend the game just because it's Fallout, and it's like it's okay. I get you. I get you may have enjoyed the older Fallout 3, because I doubt anyone who played the Fallout and Fallout 2 were playing. Well, they're not the modern fans, let's say.
Yeah. So I focus very heavily on the bugs and the fact the engine was crap and how people just say, "Oh, well, it's Bethesda."
I know, but that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to have a game like that, especially when it's this big of a game. It's not some indie game bullshit thing.
It's not acceptable at all. But it's like at no point have I ever said you shouldn't like Fallout. If you like Fallout, you like Fallout. I'm not going to hate you for that. Like plenty of people don't like Transistor, and I've said before. I think that's probably my favorite game of all time at this point. I'm not saying don't like it, but there are some things especially with big developers and with big titles, when they've had so long to make the game, that you shouldn't accept. Like, an engine as janky as the Creation Engine is something that shouldn't be accepted. Like, the sheer number of bugs shouldn't be accepted. The fact that you can't be evil shouldn't be accepted.
It's fine though, modders will fix the bugs.
It's frustrating.
Which modders have fixed the dialogue. Well, I say fixed it.
Yeah, we'll show that in a sec.
What they've done, well, I'll let you explain that.
Like with this, I'm not surprised it sells so much. I'm happy.
That dialogue system, although that mod has changed it, the actual system itself is totally shit because you can't fucking. The responses are shit.
Yeah.
It's shit. It's just a downgrade, and it's just making things simpler for the sake of making them simpler. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, if somebody sits there and tells me Fallout 4 is Game of the Year, I'm just going to laugh at them because it's not Game of the Year. If you like the game, then it's fine. Everybody can like. I mean, I like Overwatch. There'll be people who don't like FPS games and all of that. Horses for courses, but if you remove yourself from the rabid fanboyism that surrounds this game, it is not a very solid offering as a game.
That's the thing. I'm not surprised it sold 12 million units at launch, but in a way, it worries me that it has because it. I'm not going to say it's not deserving of it because I'm not I'm not the fucking ruling authority on video game sales, but at the same time, there are issues with this game that have been there in Fallout 3. There are issues that were in Skyrim because it's based off the same engine. There are downgrades that have been put in place. There is still ridiculous bugs and glitches. Like
this game feels like an annual release of the Fallout series. It doesn't feel like something that's took
it's like years
to make,
and years to make it, and it doesn't feel like it's taken years and years to make it. But the problem is, it's being treated as though it has, almost blindly. And I know that there's plenty of people, and God knows how many people crawled up out of the woodwork to say, "Oh well, I played it for 40 hours and I've only had one crash." Well, good for you, but that doesn't mean the problems don't exist. I mean, the example I always use is when I did my review of Unity, like last year, year before, whenever that came out, I can't even remember now. I was ridiculously lucky. I played that game all weekend, and I had maybe a couple of instances where the frames dropped, and that was it. I didn't have the crazy crowd spawning. I didn't fall off any ledges or fall through the world. I didn't have my face disappear. I didn't drop down off a ledge and find myself inside a guard. None of that happened to me. And in a review, I was like, it's pretty solid apart from the frame rate dropping. Then it turned out that I was lucky, and that God knows how many people were having horrendous issues. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't sit there and go, well, I didn't have any issues. No, I said it was fucking unacceptable, that it was clearly broken and something needed to be done, and it was pathetic that it had been released in that state. Just because I didn't happen to experience it firsthand doesn't mean it didn't happen. If you took that attitude to other stuff in the world, every single major historical event from, like, I don't know, for me, from 1986 beyond, like, and back, never fucking existed. And that's fucking stupid. That's not how it works. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. But people just do that. And it's especially bad with these games, with the Fallout games, with Bethesda games. It is just, well, it's Bethesda. When I even saw someone on Reddit about that video say, oh, what is this guy's problem? It's Bethesda. All the games are like that. That's the fucking problem. That's the issue. And that's why it's baffling that it sells 12 million copies. It's got tons of issues. There's a game-breaking issue with it where you can't even get past a certain quest, and people just go, oh, well, that's just Bethesda. No! Oh, God, it drives me mental. It just drives me wild. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand blindly defending something that there is clearly a problem with just because you like it. So I like loads of stuff, but I will happily admit that there are problems with it. And let's go back to Transistor. Fucking fantastic game. The last quarter of the game goes on about 20 minutes too long. The last part of the game is too long. It just is. It gets boring, and it shouldn't be there. It should have cut it down. And I fucking love that game, but guess what? I've just said there's a problem with it. So why don't you take your head out of your arsehole and actually look at something mildly objectively instead of blindly foaming at the mouth and going, rah, rah, it's Bethesda, blah, blah. Oh, God, it drives me wild. Anyway, there has been a fix, which I won't put on the screen. There has been a fix for the dialogue system because people did not like the fact that you didn't know what you were saying. So you had 4 different options on the screen, and you would you'd select the option that you wanted, whether it was a sarcastic response, agreement, a disagreement, whatever. But it didn't actually tell you what any of those responses were. So you could select something, and then you go to say something, and you'd be like, I didn't actually want to say that. Why the hell have you said that? So there's now a mod where it tells you exactly what each response is. So you can actually read what your character is going to say before you select the response that you want. Why that isn't in the game in the first place, I don't know. I don't understand that at all, because just because you've got a voiced character...
Because people don't want to read. It's boring. Yeah, no, it's stupid. When I was playing the game and I'm like... the sarcastic response is there, and I say it, but he says it in such a bitch way where I'm supposed to be a fucking murderer. My guy's face is destroyed. He's massive. He's a wall of meat. He's got 10 strength. He's going to kill you. And then he
goes, his name is erect as fuckface as well.
Yeah, that was just so the robot would go, Mr. Fuckface, when he sees you. But I Jesus Christ, please, people, please. I mean, okay, that's the first of many mods. It needs a mod to fix the UI on the PC because the UI is absolutely shit. It's a console UI ported to PC with the worst fucking keybinds ever. I mean, okay, you could change keybinds, but still, the way it operates is shit. That needs fixing. They've fixed the dialogue. Well, the way the dialogue shows up, they've kind of fixed, but you know, it's still limited to 4 stupid responses. It isn't like sometimes with Vegas. I mean, I've seen screenshots. There'd be loads of responses there. It wouldn't just be fucking 5. Yeah. You could go crazy. So yeah. Anyway, Fallout 4 Game of the Year.
It's because it's a proper RPG, not a Bethesda RPG. That'll get people angry. I don't care. Fuck them. Anyway, this is this is kind of interesting. This Green Man Gaming will now tell you where game keys come from. So Green Man Gaming got into a bit of a slap fight with the popular subreddit.
What a slap fight!
With the popular subreddit Game Deals. So Game Deals outlawed Green Man Gaming, which just meant that they couldn't post anything on the subreddit. And like deals from Green Man Gaming couldn't appear on the subreddit. They aren't like some sort of ruling authority, which is what it makes it sound like, but they're not. They're a subreddit.
Well, mods on Reddit do think they are.
Well, this is true. They do think they are a ruling authority. So they outlawed Green Man Gaming for using allegedly unauthorized key codes for Activision and Ubisoft games. That is, keys not supplied directly by the publisher. That doesn't mean they're necessarily dodgy, as there are many third parties that distribute keys that have been sent by publishers, but there is a grey area and some key codes do have suspect origins. The Game Deals subreddit stipulates in its rules that it will not post links to any retailers that use unauthorised keys, and as Green Man Gaming refused to supply the kind of contractual proof the moderators of Game Deals were demanding, and in a statement Post informed GameSpot threw its arms up in the air and walked away from what it felt was an unfair crusade against it, that was that. It wouldn't plead its case any longer. Now, however, there is a change to Greenman Gaming, and they said on Facebook, "You spoke, we listened," and now the Greenman Gaming website will also tell you when you can expect delivery of a key and where the key came from, and both of those changes have rolled out. So when you go to buy something off Greenman Gaming, you will find out exactly where your game actually came from. I like that as a change. I think it's really... I didn't say I think it's really clever, because in a way it's dealing with the subreddit, which I'm assuming got them a lot of business, otherwise they wouldn't have put such a change through. But whenever you deal with any of these sort of key selling sites, no matter how legitimate they are, there's always going to be questions as to whether they are legitimate or not. And as we've seen in the past, companies like to say, "Oh, we never authorized them to sell this game." And then, of course, it makes it look like they've done something incredibly dodgy. Actually showing where the keys come from does give it a bigger air of legitimacy, and in a way, hopefully, will show that like the keys are legit, which
But this
I'd imagine...
Yes, I've just looked at their website though, and all they've done is put a text field in the product description. It says source, and then it says authorized distributor, or it would say source Bethesda Softworks. I mean, they could just make that up. How the hell would you know? You know what I mean? But I mean, you would know in terms of the big distributors, because obviously people will email them, blah, blah, blah. I've seen the pictures where it's like screenshots of emails from like Warner Brothers, and they're like, "No, Greenman Gaming are not allowed to sell our games." Well, they're not an author. We're not selling to them. So here's the thing. This is what's really dodgy, because Greenman Gaming, well, G2A, let's talk about G2A, the big key, the biggest player on the internet for key sales, right? They get the keys from wherever they please, cheapest, and then sell them to you at the cheapest prices, because they bought them, as I said before, from like Poland, Romania, God knows where, and then they're selling them to Germans, French people, English people, Americans for a massive profit, a really big profit. Now, is that inherently bad? Well, it's free trade, isn't it? They're just buying a product from one place and selling it to another place. Now, because it's the internet, there's no actual physical movement of stuff, is there? So costs are really low. You just operate in your website. Now, Greenman Gaming have got to compete with these guys. And Greenman Gaming's approach was this case of, look, they're not as cheap as G2A, nowhere near really, but they're cheaper than Steam. And we're legitimate. We get our keys from authorized places, okay? We're not scumbags. We don't do grey market keys. We don't buy them off a bloke around the corner or whatever, selling thousands of keys, God knows what. Because, you know, G2A's had all of the problems that's had and whatever. Generally, though, it seems to be with its marketplace, but obviously the main site does sell questionable keys as well. Greenman Gaming were this shining ray of hope, this company where they were not going to be a scumbag company or be dodgy ethically. So they weren't going to try and rip off publishers, because that's what they're doing when you think about it. If you buy something that is intended for the Polish market, and then because of the European trade rules, sell it to Kiri, Kiri's going to give you... I mean, if I walked up to Kiri and said, right, here's Battlefront, and it's 29 quid off me. But if he wants to buy it from Steam, well, no, from Origin, it's 50 quid. Well, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to fucking work out that, well, Kiri's going to buy the key off me because he can still just put it into Origin and it works. That's how G2A operate. Greenman Gaming, I think, I don't know whether they've been struggling, but I do know this for a fact, because I had a G2A affiliate program, which I never really promoted. I think I tweeted once about it, like over a year ago, and I think I may have said something on the stream about it, you know, so we're talking minimal exposure. That made more money than Greenman Gaming when I was tweeting about them, when I had their banner on the stream, I even had their logo on the stream. Why is that the case? Well, G2A is cheaper. And I don't care what people say when people moan about, like, I don't care where the keys, or like, oh, I'm not going to buy that key, it's questionable. People always flock to the place which has got the cheapest prices. Now, this is where Greenman Gaming problem comes in, because they're getting battered, I'd imagine, by G2A and other key sites as well. There's quite a few other ones as well, but G2A is just a big one. So they need to compete. So what do? They approach Warner Brothers. We'd like to sell your game. Warner Brothers are like, no, because you're a key reseller. So then what do? They go to a authorized distributor in Poland and buy the get. I don't know why Poland. Anyway,
Poland is not a real country, so
and they go and buy the keys off them. So technically, it's still legal, but technically we're dodgy because we need to do this to compete. And now all our prices are a little bit cheaper. That's what's going on. And I don't know whether I can slam Green Man Gaming for it, because they're fighting against something which is just a monster, really. And you look at how many people promote G2A. I mean, look at it this way: if people talk about being pro-consumer and all of this stuff, the most pro-consumer thing you can do when it comes to game sales is to recommend fans of whatever you do the cheapest game.
Yeah,
really.
pretty much.
So when you look at the massive streams on Twitch, the massive YouTube channels with G2A links all over them, that's why. I've bought games off G2A before, and they send you the key instantly. There's no wait. I've bought games off Green Man Gaming, and they haven't sent me the key for a week, and then I've had to cancel the order. I've had that happen quite a few times with Green Man Gaming. What are they doing? They say they've got keys, then they don't send them out, or they send them out in waves or whatever. G2A always sends you the key. And G2A, actually, I bought SimCity off G2A. You remember when that came out?
Yeah,
when it was a disaster. And I just said I want a refund, and they gave me a refund. There was no questions asked. It was like, good customer service, dirt cheap prices. Why do I care where the key came from if I'm just a guy buying games? People don't. Like, I don't judge anybody. I mean, if you guys are buying games of G2A, that's fine. You know, I don't care. But you must understand that the keys, it does affect the publishers and then by extension the developers of the games, because they are selling more units in a country that they shouldn't be selling them in, because you should be buying it at your currency, you know, the level that you should be buying it at, because that sustains them instead of getting it dirt cheap. But we're living in an internet age, and there's arguments both ways. Why can't I buy the cheapest version? If a guy in Poland who's in the fucking EU can buy the game half price compared to me in UK, why am I getting gouged for it? You fuckers.
Yeah, there's a whole thing of people saying things like, "Oh, well, if you can't game, then don't afford it." That's something I've seen people say before. The thing is, with G2A, you can afford it. That's what it boils down to. Not everyone has got. I mean, not everyone in this country is employed for a start. Not everyone.
At least they're buying the games, because they could just be pirating them.
That's the thing as well. I know that it's not ideal for the publishers and developers, but what would you rather? That someone goes to G2A and buys a Polish key to play the game that they want to play, or that they outright steal it? Which would you prefer? You're not going to say to people, "Oh, well, don't buy from them, pirate it instead," are you? Of course you're not. And the fact is that although prices are adjusted based on living wage and, you know, standard of living in that country and so on and so forth, not everyone falls under the same umbrella. And although gaming, generally speaking, is a good value for money hobby, provided you buy games that aren't total trash, it's still quite an expensive hobby. It's like, yeah, you might get 50 hours worth of gameplay out of a 50 quid game, but that still means that you've spent 50 quid. And if you're on a minimum wage job, I don't know,
I mean, 50 quid's a lot of money. Let's be honest. 50 quid is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me. And I'm running a business which produces videos on games. And I will not go out and buy Battlefront, because I look at it and I'm like, I don't think there's a reasonable way of me making that 50 quid back in revenue off a video, so I'm not going to buy it. Well, that's spent 100 quid, yeah.
Games to get, actually make videos on that together would be 100 quid. And I'll tell you for fucking nothing, we would not make that money back. Not even remotely. Oh. So... And we're that's what we're doing for a living. So if you think about the guy who is, I don't know, like the 19-year-old who's just got his job at Tesco stacking shelves, and he's getting minimum wage, and he's got rent to deal with, he's got food, he's got water, he's got gas. He's not going to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, no worries, EA, I'll pay you 55 quid for Battlefront." No, he's going to go to G2A, isn't he? He's not going to go to it. He's not going to go to Origin. He's not going to go to Steam, because they're too expensive. And if you really want
I would go to G2A. I mean, money, what you earn, it's just got no relevance on this whatsoever, because it's a free market and it's an open market. And if you look at the prices of stuff, why would you pay 20 quid for something you could get for 10 quid? Who would do that in any...
Yeah, true.
What logical, intelligent person would do that? I mean,
why do we think
we can argue about paying...
popular for Warhammer.
We can argue about paying what you think's relevant for a product. A game might be worth 50 quid, but the fact is you can get the game instantly from another provider for half price. What are you going to do? That's all it is. And hey, people can't compete with G2A, and Green Man Gaming just look like the latest company who are just struggling off the back of it. I know they did offer refunds for Batman. Remember the Batman game?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of pissing around for ages about that. They were not, what are they going to offer with it? What were they going to do? Well, now it turns out, because they're not actually an authorized reseller of Warner Brother games, which is what Batman is published by, I think that's cost them quite a lot, because they offered refunds out of their own pocket. And I think it's cost them quite a bit to do
And the
things
thing
like
is,
that.
they're
And
using this as a way to fight for legitimacy. But the problem is that 90% of people don't give a shit about legitimacy. They don't care. They're not fussed. They're not going to go and read the fact that, oh, this is an authorized key from Bethesda, because instead they'll go, oh, this authorized key from Bethesda is £29.50, but on G2A it's £22.50, so I'll buy it from G2A. Done, easy, sold. You know, they don't care. Why would you? Why would you care? You can get it cheaper. You'll get it cheaper. It's just how it works.
well, Battlefront on G2A it's 32 quid, and it even says like on their fucking page, price and origin 42 quid. You can get it for £10 cheaper. Fallout 4 £33, price on Steam £42. I mean, you just can't even. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void 20 quid. 20 quid.
20.
I mean, what? It's £28 on Battle.net. Well, they claim.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops 25 quid, but it's £42 on Steam. You know, you just can't. You just like
Yeah.
This is one of those debates where you get pricks who sit on the high horse and they're like, oh, you should not buy from this website because they're grey market keys. Oh yes, you should buy the fucking 50 quid game. But then you've got people who live in the real world who are like, no, why should I pay 50 quid for something I can get for 25 quid?
And something I tell you, I'll be perfectly honest, something I'm sick of hearing is people in positions whereby they get games for free all the time, which we are in that position.
Yeah.
But you don't
I
just
pay
because
very little games every year.
yeah.
I'd say my yearly expenditure on games is probably 300 quid, which okay, is probably a lot for a normal person, but for me who's pumping out games or videos on games all the time,
I'm not going to sit here having gotten Legacy of the Void for free from Blizzard in the form of a key. I'm not going to sit here and go, well, really, you should absolutely go and pay full price for it. I'm not in a position to give you that kind of. I'm not in that position to take that moral high ground. I didn't pay a damn thing for the fucking game. I can't sit there and go, well, I got it for free, but you should absolutely pay as much as you possibly can. What right do I have to give that suggestion?
Our role in this whole thing is we get games and we just don't even factor in the cost of the game. We just tell you if we think the game is worth it in a way of, well, we do factor the cost in sometimes. So it'll be like, well, that was a bit expensive for what I thought that game was. But things like Legacy of the Void, that's worth full price to me. It's worth double what they ask because it's such a good game. Like I mean, that game sold over 1 million copies. It launched the same day as Fallout 4.
Yeah, it did. It was exactly.
I mean, it's crazy.
Said it was exactly consistent with StarCraft 2, then with what was it called? The Zerg one. Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm. I always get confused with that because it's Heart of the Swarm and Heroes of the Storm. It's not really.
HOTS. They're both HOTS.
Why did they do that? And Legacy of the Void sold exactly in line with it. So they've kept it a constant, consistent fan base for that game, whereby the first one did well, the second one did the same, third one done exactly the same again. And to survive Fallout 4, when you look at things like Rise of the Tomb Raider, that got slammed by Fallout 4.
That just got slammed, yeah.
Absolutely destroyed, which it's not surprising, because let's face it, Fallout 4, people have been wasting it for years.
And Call of Duty, remember, as well at the same time. So it's suicidal time to launch a game, unless you're Battlefront. Which I think, I mean, well, I need to see the figures for that, but that must be pushing Fallout. It's got to be.
I'd have thought so. So yeah, let's tell you what. Let's if you're in the mood for a bit of pirate-related shenanigans, you're in luck because soon Raven's Cry will be re-released. But if you bought it before this re-release, you can go and fill out a form.
Isn't this that horrendously buggy shit game?
Yeah, it is. You know what? I bugged them for a copy. I must have sent them like 5 emails. They never sent me a copy, presumably because it was such a pile of shit. So, as PC Gamer says, did you buy Raven's Cry back in January? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The word on the pirate grapevine, that's the thing, is that Raven's Cry is a hot, sticky mess. It is. It's an absolute atrocious mess. I watched multiple videos and I pissed myself. It's so bad. Although it was delayed more times than I've had tepid, unappetizing dinners, Raven's Cry obviously wasn't finished when it... I know, what is this?
Tepid, unappetizing. What, here's my lukewarm dinner.
Here's my... Thanks, dog. Raven's Cry obviously wasn't finished when it belly flopped onto land at the start of the year, which might be why it's being renamed, rejigged, and re-released. Developer Reality Pump has described this upcoming re-release as the completed version of Raven's Cry, something you'll doubtless be pleased to hear if you paid 40-odd quid for the buggy mess they've been flogging people since January. There is a silver lining of sorts. If you've already bought Raven's Cry, you can now sign this form and you should be given the new version for free. I say should because you have to provide proof of purchase. This new version, by the way, is called Vendetta, Curse of Raven's Cry, and will feature all new gameplay mechanics and enemies, weapons, quests, and upgrades, plus brand new English
Oh
voiceovers.
yeah, because wasn't the voice actors terrible? I remember that. Yeah, they were like really shit, weren't they?
It's out on November 20th.
And
Hopefully
didn't it have the test lines in it as well?
Well,
like
yeah,
it was, it goes, "Do you want me to do that again?"
Yeah,
like,
there's a scene in like the sort of the inn where one of the first places you go into, where they're sitting down having a conversation, and throughout the conversation, some of the lines are missing, so there's just silence, but there's text, and then you hear someone go, "Take two," and then he says the line, and then he goes, "Is that all right?" And it's in the game. It's like, what? It was a horrendous mess.
God.
I'm gutted that we never got a key for it, but as it says in the article, it was 40 quid.
Wow.
And I was like, I looked at it and I did briefly consider just buying it, and then I thought, I'm not supporting that. That is dire. That is absolutely dire. Like, for a start, I know we wouldn't have got anything near 40 quid back, but also that would mean giving the devs of this piece of shit 40 quid. And there's no way I was doing that. It was terrible. Hopefully, I'm hoping that maybe we'll be able to get a key for the new one, because I want to see if they've actually done anything with it, because you can go onto YouTube and you can, I mean, after you've watched this, watch the Fallout video if you haven't, and then go and just search for Raven's Cry on YouTube. You will find endless videos showcasing just how unbelievably awful this game is, and they've been selling it in that state since January, but now they're re-releasing it. I cannot wait to see it bomb, because it absolutely will.
Well, who the hell will buy it? I mean, nobody's probably been fucking buying this shit anyway.
I think the only people who've been buying it are people who've bought it so that they can laugh at it. Honestly, I think that's what it is. I tell you what, let's talk about this. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided has been delayed until August. So it was due to come out in February. Now it is going to be coming out on August the 23rd. And I always forget, I can't pronounce the name. IDOS?
IDOS.
Someone kept telling me it was pronounced ADOS. I was like, I don't think it is. But so IDOS Montreal studio head David Anfossi says the delay, or tech delay, as Rock Paper Shotgun said, will help the game to exceed expectations. As you may have already seen by reading and watching the many previews for Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, our aim is for it to be a worthy successor to Human Revolution, and to improve upon that game in every possible way. I know that expectations are extremely high, and we not only want to meet those expectations, but exceed them. We're confident and proud of the game so far. However, as we are now playing through the game in full, we can see that it will require more time in post-production for tuning, iterations and refinement to meet our high standards. In order to achieve this, we need to move the release of the game to August 23rd, 2016. Now, I'm bringing this up because this is... How many games have we seen recently that have been pushed? Or are being pushed continually, so that they're releasing a decent statement off the back of Arkham Knight. And this is another case where I'm absolutely just like, go for it, delay it again if you need to, just keep delaying it. The more this happens, and the more companies and studios and developers and whatever sit there and play through the game and go, it's not quite as good as we were hoping, we should probably do something about that, the better, because then we will avoid more shit like Arkham Knight, because Arkham Knight was a clusterfuck and it was just a complete mess. We could have avoided things like Watch Dogs, we could have avoided Unity, could have avoided Arkham Knight. Keep doing it. Just every developer just play through and just
say it's Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
I don't even know. I wouldn't say that. I absolutely would not say that. Oh my god.
Oh my god. No. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and
I don't even know where to go.
I like the other one, right? That they released. It was like, the graphics were shit and like whatever, but it was an enjoyable game. It had some problems, like everybody knows about the DLC shit it had, and where you just suddenly went to sleep and missed, and then woke up. It's like, what the fuck happened? Oh, but find out you need to pay the DLC.
By a different company as well.
Yeah, but they did kind of change the boss battles a little bit, but you still had to kill them. That was a problem. Where like Deus Ex is supposed to be a game where you can be stealthy, or you can be a murderer, or you can be stealthy non-lethal or stealthy lethal or whatever. So if you went through it being like a non-lethal playthrough, and then you get to the boss, the only way to defeat the boss is to kill him. It's like, well, no, that goes against everything that your Jensen stands for. He doesn't want to kill people, but now you've got to kill this guy, and it was like, people got pissed, and rightfully so. And they've said this one will be you will have the options in this, which is good. I'm looking forward to this. I don't mind that it's delayed, but I think that's kind of the thing with me. I don't mind if anything gets delayed, even if I was massively looking forward to a game. I'm looking forward to Overwatch, but I wouldn't care if they were like, oh, actually, we need to delay this a couple of months. I'd be like, it's fine. I don't care. Like, I'm over this mental need to have a game launch when they say the game is going to launch. And like you said, with the Steam refunds destroying Batman, and you're living in a world now where you can't just release a game and just think, oh, we'll fix it and it'll be fine. You can't do that. You have to release a product that will work. And even even not with Steam refunds, look at Unity. That was a disaster because it launched and everybody slammed it. And anybody who was looking for the game, all they had to do was type into Google Assassin's Creed Unity and they see a guy with no face and they're like, what? And then they may click the link and then they're like, wow, this game's a piece of shit. And then they don't buy it. And then you suffer. You really suffer for not releasing finished products at launch. Well, products that work. Finished products would be nice, EA, Battlefront. But at least the game works.
Oh. I'm the same. I don't get this whole thing of, well, I want it now, I want it now. I don't want it now. I want it to be good.
No.
I don't care if I have to wait an extra year. As long as when I play it, I'm like, holy shit, this is great. Instead of, oh my God, why is this so gash? Then I'm happy. So we've got a few smaller topics to round us out. I don't know what that means. That was really terrible wording. I don't know why I worded it like that, given that I was going to jump to this. Xenoblade Chronicle X's English version ditches breast slider. So, I don't know why.
What?
So, Xenoblade Chronicles. I don't know a huge amount about Xenoblade Chronicles. And I don't know whether it's the X is an X or 10 either. Like, there may have been 9 others. I don't know. But there's certain things you can do in the Japanese version that you cannot do in the English version. So, for a start, the one of the characters has had her age altered from 13 to 15 and is now prohibited from wearing some of the game's more revealing costumes. So it's nice of them to change that for us.
As if 15 is slightly better than 13.
Because 15 is obviously... 13 is beyond the pale, but 15 is a borderline acceptable. I don't know what the fuck that is. That's... Either way, what? And the other thing that they've removed is the option to control the size of a player's bust. Which, I'm just going to say now, I do not understand...
On a 13-year-old child?
No, 15, bloke, 15, come on, they changed it to 15. Don't undo all their hard work. They changed it to 15. For a start, changing it from 13 to 15 is just mental, and I do not understand how that's supposed to make it any more acceptable than what it was. I don't understand that at all.
Japan, bloke, because Japan.
Cultural differences.
Cultural differences,
Cultural differences.
Yeah.
I'm being polite, cultural differences.
I say things which would be damning, bloke, and I had to stop myself from saying them. Yeah, cultural differences.
But the one thing I can understand changing the kid's age, but in a way I can't understand it enough because it's such a pathetic small change. If they were trying to avoid... whatever they were trying to avoid, you're not going to avoid it by changing it by 2 years. That's not how that works. It's mental. That's mental to me. But removing the ability to make a character's chest larger or smaller, I don't understand why that would be censored in an English version. That is complete nonsense to me, because look at every RPG where you can create your own character for the last 10 years or so. You can fuck about with the body of everybody. You can do what you like with it. You can make it as big or small as you want. You could be running around with, like, I don't know, triple D cup or something, or you could be completely flat-chested. You can do whatever the fuck you like in Western RPGs. So why would you then take a Japanese RPG and go, well, we know they don't like that, so we're going to take it out? It's mental. I don't understand it at all. And whenever stuff like this crops up, it just reminds me that there is such a massive, culture
What was that
gap.
game me and you played where people were pulling the clothes off and shit, and you were like a kid running around with a phone or something?
Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember what that was called. That was mental as well. What the hell? But yeah, that's baffling. I mean, if anyone knows why they think that by those two things are significant, by all means, let us know in the comments, because I'm at a total loss. I just read it and immediately thought, that's fucking stupid. It's just stupid. What?
Yeah. So it's like they know that the age is obviously people are going to be like, "What the fuck?" I don't know what it is with Japan and all that place. That it seems to be some sort of common fantasy for adult males to want to be able to bed schoolgirls or something. I mean, it's like, what is going on there? And it seems to translate into a lot of the games I see. And I've spoke about this before with anime, with it really putting me off on anime with Steins Gate. There's like a fat guy and there's a school age girl, and the fat guy, every time he sees the girl, he's like bobbering at the mouth, going and all this shit, and he's like looking at her, and it's like she's a schoolgirl, and you're like this 30-year-old bloke, and I'm like, that is put in prison with Rolf Harris. That's in the UK.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. Rolf Harris lives near me now. I don't like it. I say lives near me. He's in the fucking prison. It's hard. He ain't my next door neighbour. Oh Christ. Moving on. World of Warcraft team responds to shrinking subscriber numbers. So we talked about this in the last hotfix.
Oh, I've not seen this. Yeah, how have they responded?
They've stopped. They've stopped reporting the number of subscribers.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah,
and they've now said why they've done that and how subscribers aren't like the best way to judge the health of the game. So, J. Allen Brack during BlizzCon said that the issue of subscriptions was a difficult problem. One of the problems that we have as a team, and I think the community has as well, is this perception that there's a direct relationship between the number that we announce and the health of that community and the health of that business, Brack said. That's not really true. I wouldn't say that World of Warcraft is necessarily half as successful now as in previous times. Brack says the
money store.
Brack says that the World of Warcraft development team has stayed focused not on letting... Brack says the World of Warcraft development team has stayed focused on not letting dropping numbers affect what they're doing with the game itself. For some reason, that's a really difficult sentence to read out loud. For us, the team can't focus on how to make a quest that adds 100,000 more subscribers, Brack said. How does this raid boss retain people for 5 months longer? You're going to drive yourself crazy as a developer doing that. The only thing we can do is focus on good experiences, focus on learning everything that we can, and trying to put it into what we're working on and make World of Warcraft the best that it can be. They then talk about the different solutions that they've done around making World of Warcraft more accessible. So he says that level boosts have worked out really well. We want to make it easier to play with your friends. We have a huge component of people who have been playing World of Warcraft for 10 years or some obscene number. Obscene. And they have friends that have either played a long time ago or maybe they've never played. It's easy now to just buy the box and you're all caught up. I really like this as well. As part of making the level boosting process better, Brack revealed that in Legion, the level 100 boost token won't actually be consumed until after a player has finished the tutorial segment. If you've always wanted to try Rogue, you can try that, and if you decide it's not for you before you finish, it won't consume the token, he said. It gives the option for people to try all the different classes.
Oh, that's quite nice, yeah.
So that's good.
You get a special tutorial, don't you, when you bump your class up to whatever.
Yeah. And he talks about the release of Warlords of Draenor, and one of the reasons we did level boost then as well was the idea of an expansion like a Dungeons and Dragons module. We have so many people who play World of Warcraft who come in and out on a regular basis, and we think that's awesome. We've had expansions that didn't speak to certain types of people, and we've had expansions that really spoke to them. We think that's okay, making it easier to...
And now we've got an expansion which hopefully will speak to them and bring them back again.
Yeah. Or we'll bring your friends along. That's how we're looking at it. So... in a way, it's a slight explanation as to how they treat it, but not really. It's still kind of avoiding it a bit. But then again...
Well, he's right. Like, sub-numbers, we covered a little bit of this the other week, but sub-numbers don't have direct correlation on how well the game's doing. But what sub-numbers do when they're constantly declining is does make it appear like the game is declining. But we said, these numbers of subs, even though they're, whatever they're at now, 5.5 million... those people are still buying things like level boosts. They couldn't buy them before. They're still buying microtransaction, store items, and they are buying expansions at what is now an increased rate. So they're actually worth more. So even though it doesn't have 10 million subs,
I'd love to know as well. How
also,
many people...
what was it? Rock Paper Shotgun? Was it Rock Paper Shotgun? I think said this, where it's like you've basically got a game where the whole population of Scotland pay you £10 a month to play it.
Yeah,
Bad.
yeah, crazy. I'd love to know like the stats on people like joining World of Warcraft, maybe playing it for a bit because their friend asked them to, or saying, "Oh, give this a try." The number of people who get an account, get the level boost, they boost up to 90, they buy a token because they want some gold for the auction house, they play for maybe a month, 2 months, and then they decide, I don't really feel like it anymore, and stop. I would love to see that because I bet that happens quite a lot as well, and that's not going to show up. Like, that is not going to show up. If they're doing like a census of subscribers every year and then releasing one figure, that doesn't take into account how many people have bought the game, tried it for a bit, and then left. Of course it doesn't, because they're not active subscribers anymore. In a way, I think, yeah, I think what we said last week and what he said, it's like subscriber numbers they are not the defining characteristic for health in World of Warcraft anymore, for how well the game's doing. They're not irrelevant, but they're also not the be-all and end-all, because things have changed.
Well, they're fine to talk about sub-numbers when they're insanely high, because it can be like, look, over 10 million. They were straight out as soon as Draenor launched, going, whoa, 10 million subs. Well, of course they would be, because they were like, look how many people we've got playing the game. Now it's half that number. They don't want to talk about it. And it's right. Why would you want to talk about something which makes your product appear worse than it is?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the final thing that we've got is the delightful, wonderful news, and you'll be happy about this, bloke, that the Warhammer 40k MOBA hits early access in December. Oh, yes.
I've played this, you know.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I've had a... Because we got access to it, didn't we, ages ago.
Yeah, they send emails, and I read them, and I'm like, I feel sorry for them, because I'm like, nobody's playing this game, are they, guys?
Nope. And as Rock Paper Shotgun themselves say, I'd forgotten that a Warhammer 40k MOBA was in the works. And honestly, I had as well, because I saw the article and I was like, they're doing it. Oh shit, yeah, I remember that. But it's going to be out in early access in December. And what you really need to know about it is that, I don't know why I even switched over to the article, because there's nothing particularly shocking in there, is that it's a MOBA featuring dated, I think is probably the way to put it, graphics, dated animations, characters that make little to no sense. For instance, you can be a Space Marine Assault Terminator, or you can be a Tau Fire Warrior. Now, if one of those goes up against the other, I can tell you which one of those is going to come out on top without having to play the game.
Even if the Fire Warrior got 100 free shots against the Terminator.
There's also there's a Sister of Battle as well. Again, wouldn't be able to kill a Terminator. Sorry.
No.
Unless she's
just a normal human in power armor.
But I'm assuming that she hasn't got a melter gun. I'm assuming she's got a bolter. And if she had a flamer, she'd be even more shit out of luck. So, you know.
Actually, I'm looking at the trailer here. The graphics have changed since last time.
Have they?
I played this. Yeah, they're like cell shaded now. Or they've got like an outline on the characters.
Oh wow! Hang on, I'm going to switch over again. Let's take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think it looked like that before. It looks more like cartoony.
It wasn't cartoony before. Hang on.
I mean, it still does look similar to what it looked like, but it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, they've changed. They've changed it to cell shaded. It was not cell shaded before. No way was it cell shaded before.
That's cell shaded. I don't know, but it's more stylized. But yeah, this is one of those things which makes little sense to a bloody a Warhammer fan. I mean, let's go to the website. We did this before, but I'm going to go to their website. Where's their bloody website? Here we go. Veterans,
it looked like the Sister of Battle may have had a heavy bolter for some reason.
Yes, yeah. She's the Retributor, right? She's got a heavy bolter.
Yes.
We've got a Khorne Berserker. We've got an Apothecary. Great. An Ethereal, right? A Fire Warrior. A Mega Knob. A Storm Boy. A Scout. And an Assault Terminator. So I look at this and I'm like, why have we got an Ethereal who's like a fucking command unit for the Tau?
Ethereal's traditionally not actually involved in the combat, really.
No. They just persuade the boys. Yeah,
they're really weak.
They influence their troops.
Yeah.
So if that's not a buff character, then that's terrible. Scouts are fucking shit Space Marines. Storm Boy is just a fast attack orc with a jetpack. Mega Knob, okay, that's a bloody Terminator, let's say. Fire Warrior is just your rank and file guy. Khorne Berserker is a bit random. Apothecary as well. There's just an Apothecary on this. The Apothecary would die to the Khorne Berserker.
Yeah. Well,
the Ethereal would get killed by everybody.
Get killed by the Khorne Berserker.
Well, yeah, apart from the Terminator. Basically, the Terminator, the Assault Terminator is by, well, I don't know, the Assault Terminator and the Mega Knob are the strongest things there by a mile.
Yeah.
By a mile. Like, they would kill everything. The Khorne Berserker would have a chance against them, But everyone else is trash.
Even the heavy bolter wouldn't be able to do much against the Terminator or the Meganon
Well, no,
because they just don't have the penetration on it. They wouldn't care. This is another thing where they're just handing out the license.
Strength 6 AP for it?
Yeah.
Strength 6 AP for 4 shots.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, so he's got armor saves. He's got rolling 2
save.
Rolling 2s.
Yeah, I don't. They're handing out the license to everybody. I know Dark Nexus Arena has been in production for God knows how long.
Why isn't this actual fucking like command units though? Why isn't this like warlords and shit? Why isn't this like Space Marine Captain? Why isn't it like fucking Tau fucking fat in his stupid suit?
I don't know. Because you think
or Chaos
Space
Lord.
Marine, you think like Space Marine Captain.
War Boss. Where's the War Boss?
With or without Terminator armor, because you have either. Yeah. Maybe Librarian. You could get away with that. Librarians lead contingent and Space Marines. That's fine. Chaplain, for instance. You've got a good range of melee or ranged options there. You could have a Canoness for the Sisters of Battle. Or you could have an Inquisitor. You can have female Inquisitors, so you could have another female character there.
Or you could have Saint Celestine as well.
You could have Saint Celestine, yeah. You could have Khan, the Betrayer.
Yeah.
Instead of just a normal Khorne Berserker. I don't get... they're veterans, but they're just no-name idiots when you've got an entire universe full of crazy named guys who could actually fight each other all day long and you're not sure who'd win.
Yeah.
So why...
It's not like it's just a guy who's like the the Fire Warrior is basically the shittest guy here by far. Yeah, everybody would kill him. Even the Ethereal would kill him.
The Scout would kill him. And the Scout's just a little nab with a sniper rifle, but he'd just outrange him and murder him from miles away.
It's a nab.
It's just a little nab. It's just I don't understand why. No, I do understand why make it a MOBA. MOBA's really popular, therefore we should make a MOBA, and then people will play it because
MOBAs are not really
MOBAs.
Popular. League of Legends and Dota are really popular.
Yeah. That's basically where they've fallen down with that. And so they've picked a game genre that they think is really popular, even though it's not, because only 2 games of it are. And then, instead of using the massive wealth of lore and history and story in the 40k universe, they've just picked random shitters and stuck those in instead. Just unnamed wankers that no one cares about. And you're supposed to go in and be like, yeah, I'm going to play Assault Terminator. Because people really love playing no-named characters in fucking MOBAs, don't they? That's why in League of Legends, you haven't got names for the champions. Instead, it's Dwarf in Flying Machine. Or Dwarf Boy Scout, or Rockman,
Dwarf Boy Scout,
fucking
Rockman,
fucking Mermaid Woman. They don't have names.
Rockman.
They don't have
Dwayne
names.
Johnson.
They're just descriptions. They don't have names. It's just.
Hell.
They always miss the fucking point, and it does my head in. How do they always miss the point? Every time they make one of these fucking games, they miss the point every time.
Son, it's
Look
these
at that
little
fucking Freeblade game. You can play a fucking Knight Titan. You can run around as an Imperial Knight with a massive chainsaw and fucking wreck people, except it's on fucking mobile. Why is it on mobile? What is the point? Who's going to fucking play that on mobile? Oh yeah, you know what? Whilst I'm sitting at the bus stop, I'll play a bit of fucking Freeblade on my iPhone. No one's going to do that. So why the fuck are you making the game for that platform? And then it'll come out on PC and it'll be a shit port and it'll be gashed like all the rest of them and they can fuck off and die. I'm not happy.
I think what happens is that these companies are like, oh, we're going to make a game. Games Workshop's IP is popular, so we'll just approach them and say, guys, we're going to make a MOBA. And they're like, yeah, but we don't really understand the game. But, oh, look at all these characters, because we looked at the product page. Oh, look, there's what we'll do. Who are the most popular? Space Marines, Orcs, Tau, Chaos. Then we'll put Sisters of Battle in just because we think they look cool.
The thing is, Sisters of Battle are quite popular. They just refuse to do anything with them. It's like, no, people won't buy them. But
but we're talking about idiots. They know what Space Marines are, they know what Orcs are, they know what Chaos is. Sisters of Battle, they'll be like, what? So, yeah.
You got to love the bolter bitches, though. Quality.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Belter slags.
What a terrible end to Hotfix. All I want is Dawn of War 3 in Space Marine 2. That's all I want. That's just give me those.
You're never going to get it, bro. You're going to get Dark Nexus Arena instead and Dark Millennium, whatever it's called, the MMO. Like Space Marine.
Eternal Crusade. Which, by the way,
Dark
has
Millennium Online was a
dropped off the radar in terms of progress and stuff. I'm assuming that's going to fucking collapse.
No, I've seen I thought that, and I googled it. I was like, "What the hell has happened to this game?" And I googled it, and there was like they do dev, like streams for like hours on end. I think they do them on Twitch, but it's not one of the things that nobody watches. But they put the VOD on YouTube, and there was a lot of the game looked a lot different than it looked before. Like it looked like things were getting close to being finished. It's weird though. Like that whole thing I find really weird, where companies like Petroglyph were doing it with Grey Goo, where they've got like a studio and all of this green screen shit set up for a stream that gets 20 viewers, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Why did they bother? It was like, when we laughed about the EA thing for Command and Conquer. Remember that? Where it was like this show, they did this whole show. It was like, what? Who the hell is watching this? It's so random. But yeah, there's some money being wasted right now on companies doing weird things. Weird things.
But Twitch and streaming is the new thing.
Yeah,
so you got to do it, even if no one watches. What?
It's actually becoming a job, that is, like a Twitch producer.
Yeah.
Stream producer, because companies need people to tell them how to stream. But then, can you imagine some of the position would be horrendous, wouldn't
10 people.
Yeah, it's like you got. Oh, Jesus!
Imagine being in that position. They're like, "Well, we've done all of this stuff, but only 5 people watch every time we do it. You're not doing your job properly." And you're like, "Nah, mate, it's just no one cares. I can't do anything about that." It's not in my job description to make people give a shit, and I'm afraid people don't. So sorry.
You would offer me a giant white petrified turd and told me to sell this. I cannot sell this, even if it was injected with golden something.
We're gonna go now. We're gonna leave.
Bye.
We've got pubcast to record. Thank you very much for watching Hotfix. I've lost it. Have
you ever used a fax machine? I have.
No, but I did have someone years ago attempt to call this house because they had the number as a fax number, and they put it into their fax machine, and it just didn't stop ever, and it was like 2 hours that went on for. It was fucking infuriating. Anyway, we're going. Goodbye.
Who even has house phones?
Go away.